Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for Friday, April 13th. Friday the 13th, people. Yeah, we've gone through plenty of those in the market. Doesn't really seem to have much of impact. Anyway, what we've been seeing here is a little steady increase in the shakeout right here. We turned white right about this point right here, and it's just been a slow ebb, and that's just been justified by what we've seen from the DOC readings. We haven't had the orange popping up directly above or below, indicating any significant algo activity. The last time was, well, at the beginning right here, and then again right over here, and it was modest at best. And that's the interesting thing about the DOC. It's only when you get these extremes, like we saw back over here, that you get significant moves. It's an indication that there's significant activity. And we're just not seeing that right now. It's just a slow rising red DOC, which long-term buyers have just continued to fill this back in. And that's pretty much all we're seeing at this particular point. We're right up against the 38%. Let's get that on there so you can see it. Right there it is, midway down at 67.50. We're at 65 and a quarter, so we keep hitting up against that as a resistance. It's been pretty clear too, going all the way back. That's a key point to have to move above. And the NASDAQ has been just the opposite, has been above that and approaching its 50% as the resistance. And we can see from back here in the reset of the ABM, it's been a slow climb, and that's not uncommon because we've talked about this for many years. Markets fall 66% faster than they rise, so you can look at this decline in distance and you can imagine to retrace it is going to take twice as many days as this decline took. It's just an easy way to think of it. Euro still at elevated areas, but within its current range, nothing has changed that. It's pathetic on its shakeout readings. And of course, TLT, now that there's less concern about Syrian conflict, which I always thought was kind of funny since Trump has said that he doesn't broadcast his moves, and so when he said he was going to potentially attack, one could infer just the opposite from that construct. I don't know if the market's quite picked up on that. He's been very vocal about telling everyone that he's not going to broadcast what he's going to do, and so if he broadcasts what he's going to do, you might infer the opposite, but that is speculation. Oil. This is going to be the factor going into the later part of the year, the summer, as far as inflation goes, because that is a significant increase. And this isn't about oil disruptions in the Middle East or anything. This is just about the effects of growth and the demands that is going to place on capacity, as well as the ability to provide finished products. Gold climbing back at that big, huge death cross. That's what they used to call it, the death cross. And certainly has caved accordingly. And that's represented by the steel crossing below. But you still have cyan underneath this. It's still within a broader bullish construct. And if we were to put our fib level retrace on this, we'd be looking for a return back to the highs, even though we've seen a bit of a drop. I thought I'd show this because days back we had talked about the articles of Rothschild, Soros, and them getting into Bitcoin in a serious way and talking about them with this nice solid accumulation here off the lows, and boom, for no particular reason or because we had a reason. And we started to see that, and again, this is what I talk about when you're looking at extreme algo activity. Began right here on the break above the 13.5 for the steel. At the same time, we had green crossing red and the orange dipping below, and then the next bar, you had complete confirmation right here at the 69.40 level, and from 69.40 all the way up to 8,080 on that move. Tell me it's not clear in advance what they were doing. You'd have to be blind or not paying attention to the readings in order to suggest such a thing. So here was the days action. It was quite nice. We had this close right here at right above the 50%. At the same time, we had the gold rising, which typically calls for a move to the highs, and yet we still came back down here to the lows just to really put a tweak on everyone. Didn't make any new lows. And then boom, shot up. Not only did we hit the highs, we just kept following that, and there was a beautiful ABM reset right here off that close right above, because the ABM knows these things, and it followed it all the way from there, even if you waited for that close over the 50%. And the 50% was the 47 level, but the close was at 49, and that took us all the way up to 70. So good 20-point move, and nice from the ABM stand. Then we got into a little bit of a consolidation pattern here. Really weren't any decent shorts in that. This was the closest one, but all it did was, by the time it broke down over here, it was just a return to the short algo. It dipped a little below it, but closed right back above it, and it kind of followed the short algo right here for a little bit, made a couple of little pops, did the same thing, and each time produced modest algo with the orange activity. And then it wasn't until we got this nice DOC spread where we really spiked above the 13.5, and that gave us the most significant short within that. And all we did was just start filling in positive extremes. We had this level right here, was the most recent one, and then a little bit further back was this one right here, and you can see that that's filled it back in the after hours market. If we look at the current trade that's taking place right there, and then we ended up with another beautiful buy right here with that plus 13. And again, I talk about this, when you reach this plus 13, it stays active until you reach this crossover point right here, and at that point you got to determine, are you seeing rising red, blah 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 blah. And we can look at that, and really what we had happen at that particular point was the beginning of the rising gold over 50%, which did what? Yes, led us right back to the highs. So plain, simple and clean. And then we rolled over with the DOC spread with modest algo activity. It almost got into the spike move right there, but it definitely confirmed itself as it started to roll over and the shakeout went negative. And this is where I love those ABM yellow moves, because it's like, okay, even if you wanted to, you could have said the 76% as a stop for that, and then boom, it just traveled all the way down and filled in the positive extremes. And so now we have this little uptick right up to the 50% on what was pretty weak shakeout overall, and we ended up with the crossovers right above the 23% close, and that's led to, well, more than two zones right up to the 61% here, and we're right back at the 50%. Got a little overbought. It's just kind of backfilling that in place right now. And we can increase the size of this, make it a little easier to see those. So all in all, really nice action, very clear, easy to follow, pretty good sized swings. We're still at a very significant ATR. Some people are not happy with that, but I think from a day trading standpoint, it's absolutely spectacular. And certainly not that complicated to follow from our daily zones here. I mean, we're at 55 from an ATR. That's pretty good size, and that's just because there is some uncertainty as to valuation in that, and really I think people are looking for that inflation factor to justify a higher price, so we just have to wait and see if that happens. As always, though, I will continue to post everything on the Skype chat as necessary, and I'm continuing to make some adjustments to the algos behind the scenes. So as some of those functions that I've been working on will get completed, and I will get them sent out to you. As always, trade well, and we will talk on Skype chat.